Hitler was born in Austria in 1889. He was the German Chancellor and dictator. He was born to a much older father and a mother who was a maid. Hitler was a weakly child, never participating in physical activity, and was very subservient to his superiors, and he often relied on his mother for emotional support. When he was a young man, he was homeless and lived in a shelter with Jewish people, although it is alleged that his father, or great-grandfather, may have been Jewish. There are analysts who believe that Hitler became somewhat narcissistic and probably developed psychopathic characteristics due to his childhood and teenage weaknesses, and compensated these with his character, oratory, and body language in order to obtain power and glory. Well, this video will show you his body language and how he emphasized each point, and the history of how he trained himself in body language and the effects that it has on his audience. Let's take a look. You must submit to the overwhelming need to obey. So that's the people. He's basically hypnotizing the audience with his voice, his rhetoric, his charisma that he worked on to get where he is. And the words he's saying, you must submit to the overwhelming need to obey. That is hypnotism right there. Notice his hand coming up? That was a deliberate hand sign. And the fist, I am someone to be wary of or listen to. So remember, his voice is very forceful. His words are very, very emotional, and they appeal to everyone across the board. He's making promises left, right, and center, so everyone is going to be pleased with what he's saying. So no wonder he became popular. And he's actually pointing right now, and he does that a lot. He's very, very forceful with his deliberate body language. Interesting, this man came from nothing. He came from a dirt poor background. Didn't have much of an education, and look how he rose through the ranks. Beautiful goal and aim. So that language is very emotive. Notice how he's nodding his head on that one. So in this particular speech, I would say that he's starting out his speech. So he always starts off low, and then he really does a crescendo at the end with a lot of energy. And that is oratory. He is actually a master manipulator right there. And what you can understand is that these people made him the Messiah. He was the icon that they looked up to. Because he's saying all the right things that appeal to a human being. You know, he's basically saying to the German people, you are superior. You know better than everybody else. And they're lapping it up because it makes them feel good. Okay, so part of charisma is using your arms and your hands. So the more you use them, the more you believe in what you're saying, and the people can see an illustration of what you're saying. And so they can buy into it better. So these are some of the quotes that Hitler had said. Strength lies not in defense, but in attack. And that's what he does in his speeches. The great strength of totalitarian state is that it forces those who fear it to imitate it. The victor will never be asked if he told the truth. In fact, here's a good one. The art of leadership consists in consolidating the attention of people against the single adversary and taking care that nothing will split up that attention, which he does extremely well. I use emotion for the many and reserve reason for the few, and you can see that in his speeches. He uses emotive language a lot. And right here, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. So these are all Adolf Hitler's quotes. Quite disturbing, actually. Now, Hitler's personal photographer, Heinrich Hoffmann, captured over 2 million images of Adolf Hitler. And these are some of the images that were captured. So this is him being very theatrical in front of a mirror right there and practicing his speeches while doing some hand gestures and body language to match. Notice how here it's very theatrical. It's like he's on stage, which he was. He was completely on stage, and it was completely a character and a caricature of himself. The one finger, aggressiveness, and the closed fist, aggressiveness. Now, interestingly enough, Hitler asked for these photographs to be taken while he was practicing his speeches, but once he saw his body language in there, he asked all of those photos to be destroyed, which Heinrich never did. Again, we have Hitler here with open palms to make him look sincere and open to the people. So he uses a variety of body language.
Rassismus wurde damals zum ersten Mal zu einem.
Notice how his hands are in a sort of prayer position.
Ziel erhoben. Damals gelobte ich mir zum ersten Mal, als unbekannter Einzelner diesen Krieg zu beginnen.
Notice how his hands are pointing. It's extremely aggressive.
He's saying to the audience, I am someone that you need to follow and again obey, with all of this amazing rhetoric underneath.
Und mich zu ruhen, dies endlich, diese Erscheinung aus dem deutschen Leben des Reiches.
Do you see his body language going through? His deliberate moves.
Wir haben nicht ihre Kolonien. Wir haben nicht.
And can I also say, the music behind this is also emotive, and it's also there to manipulate your senses. I did not put this in. This is part of the video that I'm looking at.
Alle die Möglichkeiten internationaler Weltverbindungen, die diesen Staaten und Völkern zu eigen sind. Wir müssen unser Reich, in dem wir so beengt sind und so wenig Lebensvoraussetzungen besitzen, sorgfältig überlegt, bearbeiten und bewirtschaften. Wir kommen ohne Plan nicht aus.
And notice how his head is punctuating every sentence. Again, it's body language in the head.
Verfallen in seiner Ehre und zu verfallen damit in seinem Ansehen. Es kam die Zeit, da man sich nur dann mit Stolz zum Deutschen weg.
So he's nodding his head, punctuating everything there, hand pointing, and then he folds his arms, so that is a barrier. He may have done that deliberately, not realizing it's actually a barrier.
Kennen durfte.
You'll notice politicians today do not fold their arms like that at all. They've been told not to do it.
Wenn man den Blick in die Vergangenheit richtete, sich aber schämen musste, wenn man die Gegenwart missah. Bei Inflation
However, his body language matched the words.
hat man unser Volk.
Notice how he's saying people suffer immensely due to inflation, there's an element of truth there. But he's speaking to everybody, the socialists, the workers, the military behind him. He's speaking to everyone and for everyone. He is a master manipulator. We're looking at Hitler addressing the Hitler youth. Let's have a look at that body language.
Das Leben mit Deutschland der Zukunft, nicht eine leere Idee,
Slicing through, not an empty idea.
nicht ein leerer Formalismus, ein blasses Schämen. Nein, ihr seid Blut von uns.
Right to the heart. So you are the blood of our blood as well. Right to his heart. So he's practiced that, by the way.
Fleisch von uns,
Flesh of our flesh.
Geist von uns.
Spirit of our spirit. So he's highly manipulative.
Ihr seid unseres Volkes Weiterleben.
And imagine this, if you were in that audience, you'd probably be swept away in this sort of megalomaniac kind of rhetoric going on in front of you. This man who's developed his charisma to a T and spent hours and hours on his speeches and on his body language. He was a master manipulator. And he didn't get to rule the world, but he certainly ruled his country for a few years.
Adolf Hitler was a very much admired but formidable figure who cultivated his leadership skills and charisma to a T. It was not by chance that this man who came from a poor background with little education himself became the man he became. He was groomed to become leader and practiced and rehearsed his leadership style with great effect. From the oratory skills of his voice to the rehearsed movement of his body language and the emotive language within his speeches, hypnotized his followers to doing the unimaginable to its foes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is The Dialogue. Please like and subscribe and ding my bell for future videos. Also, check out my Patreon page where I have other videos to share. Cheers!